Here we are again. Thanks for tuning in to another Unlock Your Truth video. And so today we are going to dive right into the complexities of a very complicated subject that has been taught differently in our culture, and that is being assertive. And in my experience, it has not been taught with compassion, to come from compassion, how to be direct. Okay, so this episode, what it means to be strong in body, mind, and spirit to help us manage and overcome the bully inside. Okay, that's what we're going to be doing. I'm sorry I don't have some PowerPoint or something up here, dry erase board to show you, but what I'm going to try to do in this episode, at least I'll be looking at my iPad, is kind of try to talk slowly and allow you time to kind of process what I am saying, kind of throw my relatable stories in here to help you. Okay, so here we go with my psychoanalyzing that I've condensed in all my years of research, right, to bring to you. Aren't you so excited for, to bring it all together here for you? And verbiage is the way to do that with me. Okay. So, of course, I would love to start this episode with some very, very beautiful quote from a historical influential figure, like Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee and all that sort of stuff. But I actually just like tweaking and different things to make it my own, which I suggest for all of you. So sometimes I'll make references to trainers in the community who have trained me, and I want to give them credit as well for using that language, because it really gets through to me. It's important to as a student. So let's get right in. What I wanted to start, kind of set the stage for today, and I should be doing this with every episode, is that the example in an assertive mindset and to focus for today is that saying to ourselves, it strengthens me to learn verbal and physical self-defense skills. This helps me protect and preserve my personal space. Okay, so I feel stronger to tackle life and to manage and to overcome this bully inside that I like to call. Okay, so one quote that I like: pain is information and frustration is a means of growth. And I believe Bruce Lee said that, which I did not realize until I really, really needed this and was into this challenge till I was about 23 when I met my husband. But I want to take it back further really quickly, since all of you have not heard my personal journey story yet. At 14, being attracted to the skateboard culture and the mindset of it, basically what better way of showing somebody the constant falling down and getting up again and enduring that pain. And as our good friend buddy Geoff said on another episode, it's a series of failures, right? And you have no one to rely on but yourself. So I was always knew that I wanted to marry or be with a skateboarder anyway, because I was always attracted to that mindset. So it kind of went hand in hand with also the punk rock subculture, which, a lot of skateboarders listen to that, and then philosophy of Buddhism. So there's like 3 roots of my mindset so that I have conglomerated together. So that is where that began. I always wanted to get on a skateboard and never was able to until about age 40, and Krav Maga helped me get to that place with all my bruising and getting hurt and everything. So Krav Maga, you will hear me talk about a lot, where I'm saying either that or realistic self-defense and how it transformed my life, and I will explain to you later. Okay, so what I wanted, that I thought you might find is interesting, that I wanted to talk about coming to this place of becoming assertive, which is being direct and speaking up, is through my self-defense training. Okay, so self-defense and martial arts, I look back, but I see them as separate. Some people may disagree. So martial arts is more calm, composure, patience. It's very flowing. I see it differently, while there are aggressive styles, okay? But I have not seen that taught, locally or anything like that, or found anywhere that's incorporated. So I'll share that more with you. Okay, realistic self-defense is real, is very real. While realistic can also be taught with hundreds of different techniques like that I've learned in Krav Maga, which is kind of disappointing to me, the bottom line is to beat ass, right? I also forgot to warn you, if any of you people are sensitive to swearing, I do insert it when it's needed or when it's, appropriate and it's funny. So if you are sensitive, I'm just warning you about that. Okay, that is for another show on being offended. Okay, so I wanted to explain to you an article that I wrote in terms, it was related to boxing, but it also across the board can apply. Okay, so awareness, recognizing who is your opponent, assessing them and recognizing their strengths and weaknesses. Next, strategizing, forcing you to think and move, what techniques to use, deflect, defend, protect. Perseverance, forces you to endure, forces you to stay in the fight, such as the ring. You're just trapped there. Courage, forces you to face your opponent as well as yourself. Fortitude, courage in pain, overcome fear of being hurt. Humility, learn this under pressure and intimidation. Resilience, recognition of what your body can actually withstand and recognizing your body's ability to recover quickly. So there's some different things, variety from the toolbox of learning that I learned there. There is so much more. I will go on to it right here. So specific, I'm going to talk about Krav Maga because that's what I started with, okay? So there's lots of drills and scenarios that we go through. And so there are so many things that it's kind of hard to put into a big long list of everything that you end up learning. This is for me, again, a transformative experience, coming from like a physically helpless place, and also I would say emotionally and spiritually. And I will tell you in a few minutes about that. So you learn these types of drills where you're on the ground, basically shoulder to shoulder with somebody, and you have to get a knife across the room, right? And so I just remember when I first started when I was laying there, and I just thought I'm not gonna win, or they're too strong, or this sort of a mindset sort of thing. And instead of taking action to roll into the person, I would almost wait for them. When were they going to, when, instead of assertive, right? Assertive, aggressive, taking action. So I learned to develop that mentality of they're strong, but I'm strong too. And that is a perfect example to give you. We also do multiple attacker drills, and with a bunch of people's pads on you, you got to get off the ground. And what's great and very because your trainer will, if they are a trainer like that, a good trainer, I think, is that they are going to coach you, get on your knees, get up, you can do it, this sort of motivational stuff. But it really does help, especially, when you have 6 people with pads slamming you around on it, and just that anger that you grow inside of you to want to fight, right? And live. This is how it gets applying to life, is, not wanting to give up. And they are helping you, give you the tools. So here we go again. There's some of the stuff that people aren't really thinking about, but my attention to detail is I can't even tell you. I just dissect stuff. Okay, so all this drill training, situational awareness, close quarter contact, all these sorts of things that I learned in Krav, which is a military style fighting system, was just different than martial arts training. And they may do this kind of stuff too, but not so much. You're not really learning in that, how to kill the kids, kick people in the balls and stuff like that, and throat strike. It's just different. Okay, so just those are some examples. And so there was a lot of just empowering myself and strength building. So you can see an example there. Maybe it's simple for a lot of you people, but it was not for me. And after I learned all through my training, up to 8 years, it's pretty much just about beating ass and not overwhelming myself with the different techniques and how to put somebody's arm, whatever. Okay, so that's really a huge thing I learned from that. And Krav Maga was transformative in my life because I had a personal experience. Basically, my father-in-law got in my face and I had an anxiety attack, and I did not protect myself, even in the sense that I did not tell him to stop. And so here's where I will tell you is the walk away after this to myself that was a trigger for change and transformation as I walked away and said, I'm not a dumb bitch. Why didn't I say something, right? Because I disappointed myself. And on that journey, 6 months later, found Krav Maga. I did not talk to him for a year. Had to go through a lot of forgiveness of myself and feeling guilty. And that is a whole nother episode on dealing with that guilt and disappointment in myself. But that is why Krav Maga changed my life forever and what it did for me on so many different levels. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you, and also about how Krav Maga, how it changed my life, even interacting out there. It's not even necessarily social skills. It was pulling out on the road, making eye contact with people, just things the way that I did. You're standing in line. I mean, I can give you so many examples. You're standing at a register, maybe there's other ones open, and there's 10 people waiting under one, and nobody's doing anything. Nobody's asking, are the other registers open? Those cashiers aren't saying anything else. It's like, how long are we going to stand here and wait? This has happened before. So being able to be like, okay, what's going on here? Like, are they open? Are they whatever? So all that shyness and everything that I used to have, I saw the person that I became. And so this is how I know from my story of going from introvert, extrovert, how I changed. Okay. So this is a very important part in the episode that I wanted you to know, is why all of this is such a big deal and part of inspiration and stuff behind my podcast. Okay, this is a way for me to insert it in the episode. Okay, because it will be so long if we do it in one of Nora's life journey shows. Okay, so my assessing of my other styles, this is going to be very funny to you. I mean, funny, I think that it is because of my analyzing, but since I've always been a very open person, I would say since the age of 23, after my snob-like days of growing up, so I've gone and tried all these different styles just to kind of see what's going on and to switch it up. And because I wasn't happy where I was training in Krav, just because I wanted to do more drill type scenario training, okay, not just fitness. I'm not there to lose weight. So that is my dream, that someday in Sacramento, we will have more places like this. They're popping up here and there. Okay, boxing. I love it, but I can't use my legs, okay? And for some reason, I feel stuck in excelling there. So I need help there. Okay, Muay Thai is part of my culture. I just started learning that a few years ago. This again is June 2020. So I do go back to that every once in a while because I can also use my legs. So I kind of go back and forth with Muay Thai and boxing. So I both love them, but they are different. Okay, Wing Chun. Calmness and composure, but where I trained, it didn't keep my interest very long. There is a trainer from the UK named Master Wong, who is hilarious, and he offers his own custom aggressive form, and that's what I was looking for at. So that's another style I tried that I'm not doing that. Okay, Jiu-Jitsu, this is funny. It's not, the style is more sport training here in Sacramento, and it's not aggressive for me, and so I call it fancy wrestling. So yes, but what I do also like, and what I learned in that style and have heard from other trainers that I do like, and this can be applied right in any martial arts self-defense, always having a prevention ready position and also a position of advantage, which is maybe still saying the same thing, but I like them both. So I want you to ask yourself if you have tried anything yet. I know UFC and everything's really popular in our culture. It's cool to see that they are very diverse. They can't be doing Krav Maga out there, but I'm sure they might learn some other tips and things like that from studying other styles. So I encourage you to go and pursue this. Of course, we just talked about the verbal. You can totally just go and try to learn this with the verbal, but you will also, so you're going to take it to another level like I did with learning the physical, but also in learning the physical, you're going to actually learn body posturing. Not only just standing up straight. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I did online on my own, walking around the room and role playing and all this stuff that's so like funny and ridiculous to me, but I totally do it. So you learn that kind of stuff, and then, you know, how to put your feet and those sorts of things. I just love it. It's great. Okay. So now we are going to get into, I explained to you, there's all these different styles out there. Just go and try one. Okay. So what I wanted to go over, this is where we get into the complexities of mindset, is I want to read you our, what I call our Bill of Rights. You can look online. There's a bunch of them all on there. Anything for just how to assert yourself in life, right? Whether it's relationships, whether it's returning an item at a store, it's just how to be proactive and direct, okay? But we got to know and feel deserving of rights. So I did not feel deserving of these rights, okay, to be able to speak up. So not only I lacked the words, but I did not feel deserving. And it's very hard to explain that. That's why I suggest the self-defense, because the rewards there do so much to your core. It explains it, okay? So I feel like no amount of writing and journaling and anything wouldn't have taken me to this level. Okay, so a reason that affected my worth, right, was having my dad make all my decisions for me, and then also being led in a sense by authority. And so while I was a tough, badass punk rocker, I still had these sorts of things, the sensing approval. It's not like I don't have these sorts of things now, like I've said before, in personal growth. Okay, so still things stuck in there, still issues with things, still communication, you know, just depending on who I'm talking to. I'm so not perfect. And I could try to memorize things and it's just not going to work, okay? So just an idea to give us things to put in our toolbox. Going to the rights. This is what I came up with, okay? Like I said, there's so many other things. I deserve to be treated with kind words and respect, of course, right? If we love and admire and care about ourselves, we would want to be talked to nicely and cared for, right? But if we don't know what that looks like and what that is, how would we know, right? Like if somebody said, oh, do you respect yourself? I'd be like, well, I think I do. Like, I do. I think, no, I guess I don't. So that's a wake-up call for me. Next, I have a right to my personal space and to state it out loud as necessary. Of course you do. Of course you should be able to. Not me. I don't have the words to do it compassionately as well with other people, especially if it's somebody I know. So whether somebody is trying to touch you or just be in your space, I kind of don't know how to tell you, okay? That was my mindset before. I lacked the words, right? Next, I have a right to remove myself from a situation that is negative or toxic or doesn't serve my highest good. Of course you have the right to, but if you do not have the love and respect of yourself, or you don't know what it is, or you don't know what negative is, you don't know what toxic is because that's how you've been raised, this is going to distort your vision, okay? So this affects us, whether it's a friend, romantic relationship, whatever, business, venture, okay? Lastly, but not last, I have a right to assert myself just because I exist. You don't need any other reason other than it's because you are a beautiful, magnificent being and because you exist, right? Another thing in self-defense, taught, learned, whatever, is that when they're trying to teach you, for some of these people too, because not everybody goes into it, has had domestic violence or abuse issues or anything like that, right? They talk about, oh, you need to have something basically to conjure in your head to create the anger and aggression, whether it's fear of death or something happening to your kids or a loved one or your cat you want to see the next day or your cup of coffee, right? Because it's different for everyone. They are trying to help conjure the anger in you, which I had no anger, right? My Buddhist ways. That's why this is also so very different for me. but very magnificent, is that I do not display anger. I might hold anger inside at the world like I did and still do sometimes, or I don't know, sometimes, but anyway, still having that anger. And so it was very difficult for me. So I needed that stimulation of people attacking me and choking me so that I would do something and it would instigate, right? So this is another thing that you will learn in class that's going to help you, okay? It's a good thing. Even though sometimes these different things you do, you feel like it's not a good thing. It's such a good thing because you don't see the other side. Now, this is the part that is the Nora special analyzing, because if you Google it online about these 3 words I'm going to talk about, or 2 in particular, again, people may disagree, but I'm going to give you the example. Okay, so self-esteem and self-worth, these 2 words, how I see the difference. Okay, while self-esteem is supposed to be about how you feel about yourself, or how you are perceived, right? These feelings about yourself. Okay, self-worth to me is your sense of value and purpose in the world. Okay? Then there is confidence, which is a faith in your abilities. So the example, before self-defense, I would say I was confident in my faith in my abilities as far as my business, for example, right? I thought that I was good at my business. I was weak in being assertive, but at that time, I wouldn't have put those 2 together, okay? So I would say I was confident, but I would say I still had stuck in there, my subconscious, a lower sense of self-esteem, but the worth, I did not feel deserving or worthy of protecting or defending myself, standing up, nothing, 0, whatever. I can't even tell you. I'm just going to say that I was weak. I was weak there. So that's how I know that when I learned the physical skills, what it did for me. Okay, so that's the best way that I want you to kind of process that sort of part. And we can talk about how this relates to physical image at another time, because that's one of my favorite subjects that I also feel in some areas I'm an expert with because of my life journey, okay? Being hypnotized and how that affects our worth. You heard me talk about it a little bit, I believe, in the first one. Okay, so again, growing up, if you want to say helpless or whatever it was, I lacked verbal skills, didn't know how to speak up, definitely to be direct. And in our culture, usually you see assertiveness with aggression, or right from a woman, she is being a bitch when she speaks up and states her mind, right? So we grow up in a culture, this is my experience, that we do not see people being genuinely, compassionately, I'm going to state my needs, right? I care about you, but I need to state my needs without aggression. And also we have seen this with men. That's how you get shit done, right? Okay. So this journey through self-defense has been also, I already told you, transformative, because for me, being a Buddhist and coming from compassion and peaceful and wanting to prevent conflict, and yes, I did practice, that is me, philosophy of living and lifestyle, avoiding conflict. And so my anxiety attack I just told you about with my father-in-law was kind of the whole beginning of like, oh my gosh, what's my body doing? I don't know what to do. And so I flee, right? So when he was doing that and in my face, I just ran away, and I tried to leave and drive away, but my panic attack, anxiety was big time and over the top. So that's when I started learning more about that kind of stuff, anxiety, and I never felt this way before, really. Just heart palpitations, when you see people getting ready. Okay, so this took me to another level of my evolution and learning as well that I can stand on my own 2 feet. Okay, so now we are going into just a little bit talking about, I'm going to say, relationship with self first and conflict resolving with others. And you can, of course, all go on and read more and learn more. I'm just condensing in this episode to kind of pique your interest and see what this is all about. And remember, again, I learned the physical first. So when I learned physical, I was like, wait a minute, I don't really know what to say, whether it's a stranger, like homeless coming up to me, or whoever it is and dealing with them. What do I do there? What can I do there? Because I'm just avoiding eye contact. I'm the person not making eye contact with you. And then, again, in personal everyday living, I was able to put the two together and say, hey, that's, I don't know what to do there. What do I do? And then we'll go into talk about parenting, because that, I was not assertive there. And so that's why I started learning other styles. I was like, this is why people drink and smoke. I was like, I got to find a way how to deal with this kid, strong-willed kid. It's because you have to parent them differently. So what we're going to talk about right now, setting boundaries. Okay. So I kind of heard about this, but I didn't really know, what does that mean? Like setting boundaries. What are boundaries? I don't get it. So again, this is so funny to me. It's true, but it says it so clearly. It's funny that I thought like that. Maybe I wasn't given enough boundaries. So this is how, think of it like asking somebody to tend your yard or house sit for you. Okay, so how are they going to know if you don't tell them? So imagine in our culture, if at the beginning of all relationships that we told somebody else what is acceptable and not acceptable. If you beat me, then I'm not sticking around, buddy, or whatever. No, I'm just saying, so we do or we don't do all of these things for fear of losing the person, or we don't know how, we don't have the skills. Whatever the reason, again, in the psychoanalyzing of why, the point is, we set ourselves up for success if we set boundaries, in my opinion, because then there's no figuring it out. Except what I do though now with people, even in new friendships, hey, I just want to tell you I love you and I care about you, but I need to kind of still tell you like these certain things that bother me. Again, not perfect, and not say I do it every time or the first time, but if there's something like a big deal, such whatever it is that for me is annoying, being late about something, I don't know. It depends on what it is, because I'm not that picky. It just kind of depends on what the situation is. I need to say something because I will repress it inside and be resentful in everything that I did my entire life, including not speaking up with my stepmom about not wanting to go to church because it's not what I believe in, okay? So my form of rebellion would be to read Clive Barker horror books in Sunday school class. You like that? So those are the types of things, though, that I would do. Just repress, dig it, push it down deeper, okay? So anyway, how much that worked for me. Assertiveness, and I said being direct, letting others know what is and isn't appropriate for you. And some people confuse this word also to these two words, I think. Aggression and assertiveness. I think more so it would be people would think that in order to be assertive, you need to be aggressive. And I think depending on the situation, it can be warranted. Sometimes you just need to change your tone of voice, right? When you're speaking. Okay, so let's move on. I could talk on that, forever. So I want to get to giving you some examples, whether you want to write this down or soak it up, marinate in it, or whatever you would like to do. I created these different situations, whether you're dealing with coworkers, bosses, roommates, children, strangers, family members, significant others. There's a long list of things, but the point of what I'm trying to show you here in asserting ourselves is the point of being direct, being able to do it compassionately, and kind of having an action plan, right? So this is another thing for life skills I wish that we were taught. It would just help alleviate a lot of frustration. There's already frustration in life. Now, if I could speak better and easily with other people, then that would help, right? That was a fun thing. Okay, so there's different things that you can do, right? I'm just going to start with the stranger example because I love it, and I learned it from one of my mentors. I'll mention to him again, who is like one of the hugest mentor for me because he helped me so much with the verbal, okay? And online, and he was on my show. His name is Richie Grannon, and his videos are Street Fight Secrets. They're very old. He's kind of gotten away from that sort of instructing, and now he's on with his Spartan Life Coach, and he talks about narcissists a lot and narcissistic abuse, which I'm also fascinated with. Okay, so if you go and look him up, he has a bunch of different videos you can download and you can research, and hypnosis type therapy training, you know, audio, different things like that. Okay, so where I learned this from him, and I loved it, and it was brilliant because he also worked as a doorman, and I was like, that is rad. I want to talk like that. It's like intelligent, intelligent verbal judo, persuasive, whatever, charm, whatever you want to call it. Okay, this is probably how he got all the ladies earlier in his life, the narcissist. Okay, so anything, keeping distance, you don't want the person close to you, right? So this is the person approaching you, you're making eye contact or whatever, and yes, you have to have the balls to talk like this, and that's why the physical is so important, because you know that you will be able to beat ass if anything happens, right? Just think of this again logically in your mind. I know I'm not sounding very Buddhist right now, but that part is not going to help me in this situation if somebody was wanting to hurt me. Okay, but say somebody is approaching you, maybe you're using or this technique or whatever, people say, no, thank you, I'm cool, or whatever it is. Yes, you can use that, okay? But here are some other things for the toolbox. I can hear you from there. Talk to me from there. I love these two. These are two of my favorites. Stop right there. Whatever it is you feel intuitively that you sense from that person, but the idea is to keep them away from you. Okay, so that's just, I don't need to find out, because I was the person, I'm just going to say, I am the curious. I am the person who's going to open the door and see what you are wanting. I'm the person to pick up the phone just because you're calling. So acting like that can get me into trouble and my safety, jeopardize my safety. So I had to learn in self-defense, I don't need to know what you want. Now that is not being very compassionate, but the point is I have to look out for me, okay? So that was also a struggle for me too. That is not being very compassionate and Buddhist, but I have to think the other way because I need to be like that when I need to be like that, okay? So those two I love. I can hear you from there, or talk to me from there, okay? Or you could just say, no, I'm cool, I'm good, thanks. I don't need anything. That's a good one too, right? I don't need anything. So, okay. So when it comes to personal space, this is something forever too I had such a hard time with. So opening discussion and making a joke, especially if it's somebody you know, just having a plan of action of how to engage, that they are either talking about something that makes you severely uncomfortable, or they are doing something or touching too much or whatever it is, right? If you want to open the discussion and it's somebody you see ongoing, it could just be a question, right? Like, what are your thoughts on personal space? Or how do you think about personal space? Or nowadays, I was saying June 2020, you can totally be like, so have you heard of social distancing? 6 feet, 6 feet, dude. Or whatever it is, you can engage with a joke, okay? Or you could just say, I just wanted to let you know my personal space is really important to me, or I'm really sensitive about my personal space. You don't have to explain, but it is just the words to be able to say it. And again, this may be really easy for a lot of you, but not for me. I have always too, you know, when it comes to etiquette, it could be somebody like, how would you approach that somebody says something about personal hygiene? Well, should I say something or not? Like, what, that's not my business, but like they're in my face, I'm training with them, or whatever the situation, okay, etiquette wise and how to approach. different situations, me being in the treatment room and somebody is doing something and I have to decide on what I'm going to do. So having a plan of action, maybe the plan of action is just to excuse myself from the room, right? I don't have to be all worried and scared and looking for tweezers to stab them with the person, you know? So is this really happening right now? Like pretty much without life and experience, if you know that it can happen, you're already aware, okay? Part of that whole thing is that not even being aware, paying attention, these things can happen to you in life. Okay. So some other phrases you can, with a roommate could be, you know, your significant, whoever you're living with or whatever, and you need to be assertive with them, right? So I see that you keep eating XYZ. I'm going to need you to replace that, please. Thank you. I would appreciate it. See, I wouldn't do that kind of stuff. I'd probably let it keep happening over and over again. Repress, repress, repress. What am I going to do? How do I say it? What do I do? I put my name on the label. I put my name on the container and they keep doing it. And should I move out? Like, there we go. Again, avoiding conflict. You're not dealing with it. And that was me. Just like if we were friends and we had a disagreement or whatever it is, I'm bouncing out. I'm out. I'm gone. I don't deal with the issue. I don't know how. We just don't talk anymore. That was me. So it's very difficult for me to learn how to be like this. But people started coming into my life aside from self-defense and helping me with this while I didn't know that they were helping me. Okay, another situation with roommate or friend or whatever. I will be happy to let you borrow that when you put it back where you got it. Right? You can do that with a kid too. So parenting, what this is called, democratic disciplining, and it's a way to still assert yourself, but you give a sense of freedom to your child for them to make their own decisions. If you want to use the spanking and the old system, that is your choice. But for me, aside from thinking, yes, I was thinking, okay, this is why people are smoking and drinking, is that finding a way to get your kid, whatever it is, to listen to you because they respect you and giving them the options and the choices, but it's not so hippie-ish in the sense where you are just letting them go all over the place, do whatever they want and being, oh, free and no consequences. No, this is just, you need to still give them a consequence and apply it. Again, not 100% I am at all, people, but I just try my best. So there's different ways you can talk to them. For example, in a strong-willed kid, because they don't give a care about people pleasing, you know, preparing them for what you're going to do, or when you are in the store, when you are new to parenting and you aren't too forward thinking. An example in the store, I will take you out of the shopping cart and you have to stay right by me. If you don't stay right by me, you're going back in the cart. And of course, you must follow through. So this is something, though, you might have to keep reminding them, you know, if you don't do this, you're going to have to hold my hand, or there's certain sorts of things. And I was talking to my daughter from a very young age about all of this sort of stuff, talking like a normal person, lots of explaining. Okay, so part of also being able to talk to your children and to others in resolving conflict and learning how to communicate more effectively is using these words you will also hear in boundary setting, such as I feel. We are always talking about how we feel and not pointing out and making judgments, which can sound very confusing, but making judgments on what they are doing, okay? Because they may think what they are doing is right and correct, okay? So many other examples if you get into learning about this, okay? So I understand, I feel. Other ways to talk could be, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Let me be sure I heard you correctly, right? So there's all these sorts of things. And that was a mouthful for today's lesson. So I want to go ahead and recap just briefly on what we talked about, not feeling like you have to memorize, and baby steps and the importance of both verbal and physical. And like I said, you can just go learn about the verbal, but the physical will take you to a whole nother level. Maybe some of you already know the physical and you're all good there, and the verbal then will be really easy for you. And then you can end up researching more about having the guilt of speaking like that if you feel like you do. So different things come with learning different mindsets, right? And so the whole sense of approval, feeling strong in our sense of self, and being almost kind of like acting like an authority figure. But anyway, so many ways that have helped me manage working with others in life. And so baby steps to close. If you want to just start with taking a class, people, just do it in anything, in any style, fighting system, martial arts, all of that sort of stuff. Watching the movies like I recommended for Mindset in video 136 Chamber with the I Love of Shaolin. Looking up my mentor, one of them, Richie Grannon, streetfightsecrets.com from the UK. He's a self-defense instructor. He's just badass. Master Wong, who is hilarious, and he's great to watch. He has a very thick accent, I'm warning you. And so you can look up boundary setting, democratic disciplining. Of course, you can watch more videos. So we will be talking about much more of this and working with others. I will bring in my other approaches as well in dealing with people, as far as in the holistic approach of how to use our energy to deflect, how to, it's funny to say not how to attach to words, but all of these sorts of techniques, and basically dealing with our interactions with others in the world, basically, okay, and how we can influence in using our energy, how we can deflect, reflect, however you want to say it, in our outside realities. And it is possible, and it does work. Okay, so the books that I wanted to go over, I do have 4. This one is a nice, easy read. It's called, it's a very easy read. Okay, this one, 7 Spiritual Laws for Parents. Okay, there's that one. These are kind of different styles of the democratic disciplining, but still, I mean, they were done in different ways. Parent effectiveness training. These are pretty old too. So there might be way more, even better, enhanced things nowadays. This one, I would say, is probably my favorite over the other ones. So don't think of it just for your kids. Like, you can use this with your significant, okay? Because when you're with somebody for a very long time, and a long time could be more than a few days, but being able to, of course, the battle of the control. And so why? That is another show on maybe a relationship committed isn't for you if you don't want to adapt yourself, right, people? So this is all about that. If you find, I mean, okay, no more of that. Okay, this one, actually, I only took bits and pieces of this, but I know that people can apply this as well. Nonviolent communication is just another system. All of these, it's like you're going for the same goal, but everybody has their own system and research, and it really doesn't matter sometimes whether it's a doctor or whoever it is with these credentials. I mean, just the gathering of information, including life experience, right? And so I can share with you so many stories from all aspects of life, you know, the parenting thing, dealing with people. It's like all connected human behavior. And so anyway, that's what I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this and got some great basic walkaways. This is something that could involve many more hours of lecturing and talking and more examples. But I want you to seek for yourself, again, what you believe to be true. And this should be probably, I would say, one of my most important episodes, because all that I can tell you is that the transformation that took place in me after self-defense is beyond, it's like one of the greatest rewards I could have been given, that I never even would have known that I needed, and how much that it would help me. And I'm so glad that it came into my life. And yes, there's a beautiful healing story now as a result of this within our family. I don't have any fears anymore necessarily of, while it's something that could be triggered and happen again, with my father-in-law, I don't feel fearful that I can't handle it or I won't do anything. And he's a very loving person, and I know he was not doing anything to try to hurt me or harm me. So it's probably one of my biggest lessons in life, and that will be another discussion in my spiritual psychology series about all these lessons and people that are brought into our lives to help our growth of our soul. And so however you want to look at it, it was a very huge period in my life I'm very thankful for, and I'm so glad that I can share it with you. Okay, so that is enough running of my mouth, and check out the next videos. Thanks for listening. Rock your life. Bye.